troop carrier group, the 87th Squadron?
75th.
Oh, 75th Squadron.
Back to England, and following that we took part in Operation Market Garden. And there I was in on the first day of operation on September 17th with the 437th Troop Carrier Group, which I believe took off from Ramsbury.
And you were in the picture, the famous picture of where the two gliders collided in the air. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, well, as someone pointed out in the previous motion picture, it was a long, tedious flight from England to the landing zone at Zaan, Holland, about 3 hours approximately. And it was more or less routine going over England and the North Sea. There was a lot of turbulence, but it didn't bother me too much. The minute we hit the coastline of Holland, we started getting flak and ground fire, and we had that off and on all the way into the landing zone. My tow plane took any number of tracer bullets, and I think there's one tracer bullet in every 3, so I guess the tow plane got hit 100 or a couple of 100 times. And I could hear the bullets going through the wing of the glider. But I kept moving from my position so that I would not be in direct line of fire. And when we got to the landing zone and I cut off my tow, I was thanking my lucky stars I'd gotten that far without any mishap, and I was feeling pretty good, feeling I had it made. And to my utter surprise, as I was on my next to final leg at about 150 feet, this other glider collided with me from the rear. I didn't see it coming, and I had no way of avoiding it. It was a tremendous shock, and I let out some kind of a yell. I don't know what it was, but we were all pretty well composed, realizing we were going to go in nose first, and I don't recall anyone saying anything. I had the presence of mind to pull my camera from my chest and pull it over to the side so I wouldn't have my chest crushed.
How many seconds do you think from the time you got hit to the time you hit the ground?
I imagine in about 15, 20 seconds. Long enough for most of your life to pass in front of your eyes as you're on the way down. And I remember there were 2 impacts. The one immediately following the other, the crunch of the nose of the glider as it hit the ground, and then the tremendous blow from the rear as the Jeep tore loose and crashed into my seat, catapulted me forward into the nose of the glider. And of course I blacked out immediately. It was terrific shock when I got hit from the rear, and I blacked out immediately. And I came to 2 or 3 times while I was entrapped in the wrecked glider, and during which periods of consciousness I noticed the men trying to get me out of the wreck.
How long you estimated it took them to get you out?
Well, I had a brief talk with the captain after they got me out, and he said it took several hours. Now, I don't know whether that was 2 hours or 3, but I would imagine it was 3 or 4 hours, because we were pretty well pinned in there, and they had to cut through the framework of the glider.
You had a lieutenant sitting in the seat beside you.
Yeah, second lieutenant from Airborne, and I sat up straight as we were plunging toward the ground, but he sort of curled up into a sort of a ball. And I think he got the worst of it because he was just literally pinned in the wreckage, where I was virtually free from the waist up. So
In the picture, it shows your flak suit seems to be in the way. You remember anything about that?
no, I don't recall anything about that.
But you did have a flak suit on.
No, I don't think I had I can't remember for sure, but I think we had a flak seat, but I don't recall we had a...
You don't think you were...
I don't think I had a flak vest. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
So that was just your field jacket that was loaded with a lot of...
Yeah. I can remember from the picture, my arm was pinned into position across the lower part of my face, and you could see the watch, and you could see my face, and that's about all you could see. And that was because when I was catapulted forward, why I just literally tore out the plexiglass or the windscreen.
And I believe you told me you had a Jeep that came forward and hit you.
Yeah, the Jeep tore loose when we hit the ground, and it's what caused most of the damage.
How about the guys that were sitting in the Jeep? Were they hurt pretty badly?
As far as I know, they were not hurt to any extent. I never I couldn't find out later whether they got out of the Jeep themselves or whether they were helped out. I imagine they had minor injuries and had to be helped out.
And they got you into the Dutch hospital. You came to in the Dutch hospital.
Yeah, I was lying on the floor of this little Dutch schoolhouse, which had been turned into a field hospital. And
You were there, you think?
I was there about 3 days, and during that period I was unconscious most of the time. So I don't remember too much of that.
And they finally got you back to England, evacuated you to England.
They evacuated me in British field ambulances about 20 miles at a time, it seemed. And I think that took 3 or 4 days because I spent the night in one of these British field hospitals. I think it was a canvas affair that the temporary hospitals had been set up to take care of the wounded. And I'm pretty sure I visited 3 or 4 of those before I got back to Brussels, Belgium, from where they flew me back to England.
And then you were in a hospital, I think you told me, in Oxford?
Yeah, the 15th General in Oxford for approximately 3 months.